Because a long time ago, there was a coach in New Zealand who coached his team different than everybody else. And he had two guys on his team that won the 800-meter race and one won the 500, the 1500-meter race. And the reason they did it, and the reason they outran everybody, is because they had to run 100 miles a week, which is 20 Ks a week. No matter what. So running 800 meters and 1500 meters wasn't nothing when you're used to running 20 Ks. And I know that works because we used to train that same way. You're going to run 4 miles, we run 5 miles, or 4, you know what I'm saying? We would run further than we had to run and get the time in the same distance that we needed for the shorter distance. Why? So when it came time to compete, you could do it and you'd be like, we finished? It would be nothing. Think about this. Why? Because the person that's doing the training, the trainer, right? Father has what? Great vision. He has foresight. He can see the big picture. And all the time we don't see the big picture. So we be hiding, why me? So let's go to Romans chapter 8. Enough. And let's start at verse 29. Let's see what it says. Paul says, for whom I did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his son, Yeshua, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Verse 30, moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called. And whom he called, them he also justified. And whom he justified, he also glorified. What is that saying? He knew who was going to come to his team. He knew and he knows who is going to come out of her. What? The world's religious organizations. He knows who it is that's going to come out. When he had already predestinated them and he had already called them. And the call came to their ears and they answered the call. And when they answered the call, what did he do? He justified them. And what did verse 31 say? What shall we say then? Say to these things, if a higher be for us, who shall be against us? Okay? Because he has a plan for what he wants us to achieve. Let's go to Ephesians, chapter number 1. Ephesians 1. Let's start at verse 11. In whom also we have obtained an inheritance, being predestinated according to the purpose of him who worketh all things, after the counsel of his own will, that we should be to the praise of his glory, who first trusted in Messiah. What did he say? That we have obtained an inheritance, being what? Predestinated, predetermined. That means he knows what? The end from the beginning. He knows those that are his. Even though the his might know that they don't, who they belong to. But he know who gonna answer. He know who gonna do what when. Let me tell you something. Sometimes people be wondering, why did that person die? Because they got right with Father, and he know if he let them go any longer, they not going to do right. They going to mess up. Just like Hezekiah asked for more time. He got 15 years, but in the process of those 15 years, he messed up. He didn't get the reward that he would have got if he would have went on home when Father called him to come home. So sometimes, because Father ain't going to lose the battle. You understand? He going to win the soul battle. You need to understand that. We don't know when people repent and get right with the Most High, but he do. That's what we need to understand. And sometimes he calls them on home so they don't miss their place in glory land. Y'all understand that? Because he the only one who determines who goes where and when they going. Y'all all right with that?
Yes.
Write your questions down. See? Because Father knows what problem is coming. And he can direct us so that we can adjust. Don't he say he make a way of escape? Let's go to Hebrews chapter 12. Hebrews chapter 12. We'll start at verse 10. For they verily, for few days, chasten us after their own pleasure. But he, for our profit, that we may be partakers of his holiness. He said, what? Man will punish you for their own pleasure. But when Father punishes us, he punishes us for our profit, so that we can benefit. So that we can partake in his holiness. Now, no chastening for the present seeming to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. What does he say? He chastised what? Them that he loved. But even though we think we be doing, we still be looking for him to go on and give us a little spanking every now and then so that we can know. See, the spanking causes us to know that we on the right path and that we pleasing him. You see? See, present seemeth to be joyous, but it's grievous nevertheless, because see, you get in that unknown. See, when you used to getting that spanking every now and then you don't get none for a while, you be like, what's going on here? See? Why? Don't you know Father wants to inspire us and to empower us? Go up to verse number 3. For consider him that endureth such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest you be weary or faint in your minds. You have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin. What? For consider who? Yeshua, that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest you be wearied and faint in your minds. Go to verse 2. Looking unto Yeshua, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is sat down at the right hand of the throne of the Highest. You see? Let's look at verse 5. And he says, And you have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not the chastening of a higher, nor faint when you are rebuked of him. But whom a higher loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receives. Just telling you that I love you. That's what the whipping is all about. Let's go to Philippians chapter 4 and verse number 13. I can do all things through Messiah, which strengthens me. Can we do all things through him? Because his strength don't run out, do it. Our strength runs out. We get weary. We get weary. And he tells us don't be weary in doing well. You see? And think about this. Father deals with each of us individually at the level we are at in him. Let me show you something. Psalms 139. That's what I want to do. Psalms 139. Start at verse 15. My substance was not hid from you when I was made in secret and curiously wrought in the lower parts of the earth. Your eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect, and in your book all my members were written, which in continuous were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. How precious also are the thoughts unto me, O Ahia, how great is the sum of them. You see? Father don't see things the same way we see things. But he is our coach. But he on a whole different level. He trying to bring us up. You see? What do we need to remember? Remember that when the trial comes, we got a coach. We got somebody that's going to tell us, you are not training properly. You slacking up. This is why we got trained. So we can endure hardness as a good soldier. So we don't become weary in doing well. Think about this. When we look at Judges, what was it about?
Excuse me.
You saw Israel, what they do? They began to serve the Most High. Then they would fall into sin. Then they would get enslaved. Then they would cry to the Most High. Then he would raise up a judge. Then they get delivered.
Yeah, all happening
and
again.
the cycle will start all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, isn't that what's happening right now?
But people don't remember their past.
You know what Father's problem is? Because he got a big problem. You know what his problem is? It's me and you. It's us. We are his problem. We are his most prized possession. We are the thing that give him the most joy, but we the thing that give him the biggest headache. Think about it. Scripture and human history show that the fallen nature of humanity drifts from a state of well-being into a state of dependency and bondage. Cycle. You see, just like that cycle of judges. I'm doing it, then I come in sin, then I get enslaved, then I cry out, then he raise up somebody, then I get delivered, and it starts all over. See, we got to stop that cycle. We got to break the cycle. Got to get right and stay right. That's why we got to always be with our whole heart and not a part of our heart.
Teach our family to do so as well, our children.
Yes, you can.
That's why it always, that same cycle always goes back again over and over again like a circle, because the parents don't teach their children. The children don't teach their children, and so on and so forth. So it does not F up. Let's not come back to the same thing over and over again. It's a continuous line instead of being a continuous circle.
Maybe she'll say. Hebrews chapter 12. Let's start at we'll look at the first 3 verses. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Yeshua, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of Ahia. For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners himself, lest he be wearied and faint in your minds. You don't want our minds, because see, that's what the devil always trying to do, is mess with your mind. Let's drop down to verse 5. Have you forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children? My son, despise not the chastening of Ahia, nor faint when you are rebuked of him. For whom Ahia loveth he chasteneth, and scourges every son whom he receives. If you endure chastening, Ahia dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if you be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then you are bastards and not sons. Y'all see that? He said, if Father don't give you no spanking, you ain't his. Did y'all see that? Furthermore, we have fathers of our flesh, which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? For they verily, for a few days, chasten us after their own pleasure. But he for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness. What did it say? It said that our earthly parents chasing us for their own pleasure. Well, the Most High, when he chasing us as our Abba, he chasing us for our what? For our profit, so we can be partakers of his holiness. Now, no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous nevertheless. Afterward they yielded the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. You see? So when Father disciplines us, he's training us, and it also shows that Father is active in our lives and not passive in our lives. No. We do not blame our problems on him. You see, a lot of times people blame all their problems on Satan. No, it ain't always him. A lot of times it's us not doing what Father told us to do. Father is the one that's sovereign. Devil ain't sovereign. You see? If we get in the fire, when the Hebrew boys got in the fire, that's right, Hananiah and Mishael, when they got in the fire, was not the Most High already off in there? He was already in the fire and already gave the fire and the heat instruction before the door was open. And when the door was open, the heat went out and destroyed the ones that threw them in. The fire was going, but it wasn't hot in there to them, because it already had did what it was supposed to do. Total obedience. Elements are totally obedient. Humans are not totally obedient to the Most High. See, when Father said that he disciplined us, that's him showing his love. So his discipline is not a sign of his anger, nor is it payback or frustration. It's forward looking. He was taking us forward, not back. It's a sign of his love. What did verse 6 say? Because a higher discipline those he loves and punishes everyone he accepts as a son. So it's not his wrath we're receiving. So the word that's translated discipline here, it means he's our tutor. He's our educator. He's our teacher. He's our trainer. That's why I said he's our coach. You see? It's a good thing. Look at verse 10. Our fathers, talking about the earthly ones, disciplined us for a little while as they thought best, or for their own pleasure. But a higher disciplines us for our good, that we may share in his holiness. So his discipline is so we can share in his holiness. Y'all hear me? See, what is he doing? He's using the events, the circumstances, to form the correct character in us, so that he can bring us closer to himself for good, so he can share his holiness with us. Because we know for a fact that our earthly parents, when they punished us, it was because it wasn't for our good. We thought it was, though, didn't it? Well, it was because they wanted to get us. Somebody could lie on you. I'm going to get you. You see? And you don't even know what you was being got for. They weren't trying to share nothing with you, was you? With that strap. You see? See how you see what Father be doing? So that helps us out to know. Let's look look at Jacob for a minute. Look how Father worked and disciplined and trained the life of Jacob. So Jacob was a fighter, wasn't he? He was born fighting, wasn't he? Because him and his brother was wrestling in the womb, wasn't he? Him and Esau, wasn't it? Let me tell you something. Jacob's mother put him on Esau clothes, made the food, put the hair all on him. And everybody want to say that Jacob deceived his daddy. Who did it? His mama did that. Jacob didn't try to talk like Esau, did he? Because his daddy said, you know, you sound like Jacob. So they said their voice was distinctively different. He said, come here, let me touch it because I can't see real good. And he touched him and smelled him and said, okay, well, he smelled like Esau. But who did that? Y'all see that? That's what I'm saying. Everybody want to mess with poor Jacob. Let's go to Genesis chapter 42. Let's start at verse number 36. And Jacob their father said unto them, me have you bereaved my children. Joseph is not, and Simon is not. And will you take Benjamin away? All these things are against me. I'm on the wrong thing. On the wrong chapter, excuse me. Yeah, I'm right. And Reuben spake unto his father, saying, slay my 2 sons, if I bring not to you. Deliver him into my hand, and I will bring him to you again. And he said, my son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, he is left alone. If mischief befall him by the way, in the which then shall you bring my gray hairs and sorrow to the grave? You see what I'm saying? So, see, Daddy thought, what? That he was dead, but he wasn't dead, was he? He thought Joseph was dead, didn't he? Joseph wasn't dead.